you have now 8 companies that are sort of part of the FOMO experience. And I want to talk about one of the other ones, which is called Slingshot.
Yeah.
And at a high level, it aims to scale companies to create growth and sustainable jobs. And it's based in FOMO. And as far as I understand, you were the CEO for the first 3 years. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about what it is and the results so far and where it's heading.
We're in a region where most of our most valuable companies are delivering services to oil and gas. And that makes us really vulnerable to any changes in that industry. And now when the whole world is talking about climate and energy shift and all these things, we are sitting here just watching our most important industry being bombarded by everything like political, environmental, the youth. Everyone is like, this is an industry that we would, if we had an option, would try to be without. So when COVID hit and the oil price actually for one day was negative, I don't know if you remember, but you had to pay to get rid of oil at one point.
It was like minus 19 US dollars per barrel or something like that.
Yeah. And that is crazy. We're quite vulnerable, right? And when COVID hit, then we gathered with our bank and we started thinking, how would this affect us? And what can we do? I believe if we can find the best companies and we can scale them fast, they will be the ones that produce a lot of jobs. Because if you look at the startup scene, they might get a lot of attention, but they don't create a lot of jobs. And most of them are working on low salaries. Most of their salaries comes from the founders that support them with money. So it is at that time when they start to scale, when it's the result of the products that they sell or services create the income, that they start to really hire a lot of people. But that's the phase when most companies fail. So we wanted to figure out, like, if we can do something with these companies when they are when at the edge of that jump into the scaling phase, if we can do something to make them succeed even faster and try to take some of the dangers of that specific phase out of the business model, we can create a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
And we had one goal in mind, was like, okay, we want to spend maybe 5-6 million a year, Norwegian, like 500,000 US per year, using the best consultants from our region, helping these companies, working with them for a couple of months and taking away the scaling problems and see if we can create 200 jobs per year. That was our goal. And we said, if we don't succeed, we'll just put the project down. If we succeed, we have discovered a way of creating jobs much faster, much cheaper than all the other money that they are spending on a lot of on the startup scene today. Because there's really, at that point, there was no one talking about the scale-up scene. Everyone was talking about the startup scene.
Yeah, all the soft funding goes into that.
Yeah. Because when the scale-ups were having their own income, people were like, oh, now they have a little bit of income, now it's okay, they can manage. But what happens is that income is maybe not enough to make it scale fast. But if you take like a couple of millions and give it to them, they could create maybe 10 jobs. But if you take that same amount to a startup, they may just waste it all away.
Yeah.
And you get no jobs. So the result after 3 years with Slingshot is actually that we've managed to create 450 jobs. That's the report from PwC. And we've had around 24 companies from our region participating in the scale-up program.
Yeah, impressive results.
And you might ask, like, what's different with Slingshot and all other scale-up or accelerators or whatever? And I think that the biggest difference is that we used PwC and other consultants because they are really strong in our region because of the oil and gas. We're using one of our advantages. We've had a huge oil and gas industry that have connected these consultant companies to the whole world. And they can use their network which I talked about in the beginning with Richard Branson here, that they can use their network and connect these scaling companies to the right clients in other areas of the world. And that is part of the success. So giving them clients so they can scale faster. But another thing that we saw when we started like digging into the numbers, like why are a lot of these companies failing? We saw that the biggest problem is actually culture. And no one, even today, don't recognize that. And then the reason for that is that when you start scaling, you go from an organization where you need to have a lot of Swiss Army knives to an organization where you have a lot of specialists. And if there's two groups of people that don't go well, that is these two kind of people, like specialists and Swiss Army knives. That's like putting a scientist with an arm, like a Navy SEAL. Yeah. They would not be a good fit, right? And that creates a lot of problems in scale-ups. So in a lot of these companies, we made a plan on how to change the whole management to take the founders and everyone that was like CEO, CFO, all the titles, and put in people that was actually a real CFO or a real CEO that have done that in bigger corporations and know of the protocols and everything they need to follow in order to make that company succeed.
So plan to professionalize it.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is really hard for any entrepreneur because they have so much like
emotion invested.
Yeah, so emotionally invested. It's hard to just let it go.
Yeah, it's like giving up your baby, so to speak. Yeah.
And that is also why it's really hard for us to get these companies to accept that program. Because they know, maybe they know, I don't know. Maybe they know the truth. They don't want to accept the truth.
Now, how many times have you run through the program at Slingshot at this stage?
I think we've had 7 cohorts.
Yeah.
With 4 companies in each. And the culmination of all our learnings was actually that we got contacted in 2013 by Monshaat in Saudi Arabia, which is the like the SMB kind of department in government. And they were working on their unicorn candidates, like companies with 50 to 250 employees. And they had been using Stanford University at the time for their entrepreneur scale-up program for these companies. I think on a LinkedIn post or something, we caught their attention. And they flew up to Stavanger and had a meeting with us and got a presentation on what we've been doing with Slingshot. After a couple of rounds, they decided to kick Stanford University out and replace them with Slingshot. Because they thought that our program, our approach, our way of working, which would be much more valuable for them. And we had 7 companies from the Middle East that came to Norway, and we ran them through the Slingshot program and worked with scaling, had sprints, working on the culture, and all the same things that we've been doing with the companies in Norway.
Did all the people in those companies sort of co-locate temporarily to Norway?
No, it's actually most of the program was online.
Okay, yeah.
So we did like one-on-one sessions with the management on video, and we flew our team down a couple of times to Riyadh.
That way, yeah.
And we also had, I think, 2 weeks that we flew everyone to Stavanger.
Oh, nice.
We went to the Pulpit Rock and had some nice barbecue and some social things as well. It was really interesting and really talented people, and it's fun when you meet other entrepreneurs, even though you're from half around the globe, other cultures. There's so many similarities.
If you appreciated that, then click here for more content like this. Go on, click it. And don't forget to subscribe. Be well.